So many of us have traumatic experiences when we're little. Of course, often many when we're teenagers. Sometimes it's a divorce in our family, like our parents are fighting all the time and they're yelling and screaming and we're freaking out. And then one of the parents leaves and disappears, sometimes for a long time. So not only do we have the trauma from the yelling and the fear we experience as children, but then added to that, we have this whole thing around abandonment because one of our parents has abandoned us. And of course, they don't see it that way because they're having their own set of traumatic experiences. And maybe they're not allowed to see us. Divorce is a common traumatic experience that many children have. And what they found is that these kinds of childhood trauma create illness, substance abuse, and a lot of anger in adulthood. So your unresolved childhood trauma could actually be creating the challenges you're experiencing as an adult. And who would even think of that? Most of us are like, yeah, life kind of sucked when I was little. My parents fought all the time. Then my dad left and I didn't see him for 5 years or until I was a teenager. That's the way most of us are taught to handle these traumatic experiences. We don't actually go to therapists. No one talks about it. We kind of stuff those emotions. We just assume that's the way it is in the rest of the world. Everybody's experiencing that. Everybody's parents fight. But it's not really true. So many of my clients come to me and they're like, I feel blocked. I'd like to have a loving relationship, but every time I get into a relationship, it always turns out the same way. Different person, same story, same repeating pattern. And we don't know why. But the likelihood is there is some level of unresolved trauma, which is now unconscious. So not only is it unresolved, it's unconscious trauma. We've stuffed it down. We've forgotten about it. It was 40 years ago. Who cares? Until you realize that it's affecting your life. And what I have found from working in the Akashic Records, that is one of the things that often comes up when I do readings for my clients, is they come to me with I feel blocked, I can't seem to have a good, loving relationship, or I'm blocked financially. I feel like I can never create enough, financial abundance in my life. I feel stuck. I don't know what my purpose is or where to go next or what to do next. I want to feel like I'm living or creating a powerful life or a happy life. But the truth is that there is emotional pain and trauma, which is keeping you energetically very often closed down. Blocks our hearts. We have actual energetic scarring in our heart center very often from these traumatic relationships, whether it was an abusive parent, a traumatic divorce, an unhappy marriage that we ourselves went on and created, and we feel unworthy. We feel unlovable. We often blame ourselves for what's happened in the world. We blame ourselves that our parents got divorced because we think, well, if only I was a better kid, if only I was easier, if only I didn't whine as much. And we know that's not really the truth. But in our little child minds, that is what we're thinking. We're thinking, I could have changed this if only I knew how, if only I did something better, if only I did better at school. Sometimes we think, if I was an A student instead of a C student, then my father wouldn't have left. Well, come on. It's ridiculous, but it's not ridiculous when you're 8 years old or 13. Or sometimes even 16 or 17, we think we are responsible for the world. kind of the way we evolve as humans is we are self-centered, but we don't always change that thinking. And so when terrible events happen to us, we blame ourselves. And then we wonder why life is so hard. So just take a moment and ask yourself, is there an unconscious trauma that happened in your earlier life that you've stuffed and forgotten about? Or is there an unresolved trauma that you can remember, but you never actually did anything about? So if you feel and get that yes to either of those questions, I'd suggest looking in to your Akashic record.